Let's try to understand what is happening here. Yes, it's prayers, the faithfuls completely oblivious of the rains. But just what are they praying for? For the last 3 days, these two coffins have been lying here at the Believers of Kingdom Seekers Fellowship Church in Nakuru. As the church congregation engaged in lengthy prayers. Another weird church-related action. Believers saying it's hard to let go of their two pastors. Church members have been fasting and praying for the last 3 days, believing that two of the church pastors who died in a car accident will resurrect. The faithful started fasting and praying, saying that on the third day, the two would raise up from the dead. According to church officials, Apostle Stephen Bulungi from Uganda is alleged to have received a revelation from God, telling him that it was time that church leaders started raising the dead as it is written in the scriptures.
Go and preach the gospel. Heal the sick. Cleanse the lepers. Raise the dead.
Church leaders refused to bury the two, saying that their work on earth was not yet done and that they were not dead but sleeping, and it was their work to get them back to life. Church overseer Pastor John Kimani, who led the prayers, argued that the two pastors were the pillars of the two churches and that burying them would leave the church weak.
And it should not be ridiculous when the church is exercising her faith.
But their prayers were apparently not answered. After intense 3-day-long prayers, no miracle occurred, the bodies remaining stationary, forcing church officials and believers who had come here expecting a miracle to reluctantly agree to bury their dead next Thursday. In the past few years, Kenya has experienced a spread of charismatic churches whose mode of operation has raised eyebrows, to say the least.
3 days and still counting. Worshippers at the Kingdom Seekers Fellowship Church have been seeking divine intervention for the resurrection of two of the church leaders, Patrick Wanjohi and Francis Kamau, who died in a road accident last week. According to the church overseer, the two have been instrumental in the running of the church, and therefore church members are reluctant to let go of them so soon.
So we were believing God to fill that gap. And we were believing God that God is able to fill that gap by resurrecting them back to life.
The prayers went a notch higher yesterday, with the church leadership bringing the coffins and bodies of the deceased for the Sunday service, expecting the deceased to resurrect. Still no answer, but the church leadership is not ready to give up.
I believe in the power of resurrection. I believe we are in the verge of a great revival.
Church members have, however, decided to continue praying until Thursday, the day the deceased are expected to be laid to rest if they will not have resurrected. And so, is it a case of living in denial or simply a case of absolute faith? Franklin Masharia, Citizen TV. It was a much anticipated miracle that never came to pass. Days of prayer and fasting that was supposed to result in the coming back to life of the two pastors who died in a road accident last week. And though adamant, the faithful of Kingdom Seekers Church in Nakuru had clearly given up on the resurrection miracle. Unlike in normal funerals where many adorn black clothing, here most were in white, a sign of purity for the church leaders. No portraits of the deceased were displayed on the coffins. The elusive miracle did not, however, dampen the spirits of the mourners, as well as those of the church overseer. And for those people who scoffed at the miracle prayers, the church overseer was quick to brand them as men of little faith.
Kuna kitu zaidi katika Biblia, na wale wamechagua vinono katika Biblia, basi wewe kama hutaki vinono
Yes.
Later, the bodies of the two leaders were laid to rest at Nakuru North Cemetery. Now, the two former church leaders are definitely gone, but the events leading to their burial leaves more questions than answers and will probably be important in shaping the future of the Kingdom Seekers Church. Franklin Masharia, Citizen TV, at Nakuru North Cemetery in Nakuru.
Sorry, I need to give this prophecy. The Lord said to me about Kenya that the nation have been paralyzed by fear. He showed me the source of the fear. The one that pained me more is the source of fear in church. He said the prophets have put them under fear. Ordinarily, he asked me, where should my children get boldness? Is it not in my house? He said, but they get to my house and they are reduced to chickens. They go out, they are terrorized by fear. They come back, the preachers terrorize them by fear. Listen carefully. When he said that to me, he began to open my eyes to certain things that have guided our ministry here in this nation. Listen carefully. Jeremiah 23 says what? He said, I will bring them to their own family and they will fear no more. The season of fear is over. Of course it's over. You, as some of the things they were calling me for, those papas, it was, they're not even afraid. They're just they're just saying anything anyhow. I told them it was before. The season have changed. They can't be afraid. It's not a takim thing. It's a truth thing. They cannot be afraid. Because when you meet Jesus, fear disappears. It's not a man of God that removes fear out of your heart. It's not a takim. It's a Jesus. Because when you meet the Lion of Judah, you can't be a chicken of Kakamega. I have told you before. Because you've been to church, you have not met the owner of the church. You have not met Jesus. And Christ came and met you. And you met him. And now you are as bold as a lion. Nothing fear you except God himself. We cannot carry the fear of God and carry the fear of men at the same time. Is somebody hearing me? Is where there's no fear of God, people fear men. When you fear God, you can't fear men.